Welcome to LC Screen Talk. My name is Larry, and this is February's installment of the Movie Nerds Club, a monthly series in which I join some of my fellow film tubers to give our top 5 on a new subject each and every month. And this month, in celebration of the festival itself, we are discussing our top 5 favorite films from Sundance of all time. So the only criteria for the list is that it had to have shown at Sundance at some point in any year since its original formation. Now, after you are done checking out my top 5 here, so if you're excited for this top 5, make sure to hit that like button down below and subscribe to the channel. And then, after you're done checking out this top 5 from moi, make sure you head on over to Ren Geekness, Rachel's Reviews, Mainly Movies, Zach Pope, and Ryan Cam's channels and check out their rankings as part of the Movie Nerds Club. Please remember, I've not seen all of the films that have ever debuted at Sundance by any means, and admittedly, my ranking certainly has a bit of recency bias because it's only within the past decade or so that I really started to pay attention to awards films, if you will. And a lot of films I didn't even know showed at Sundance, but so many great films have, thus making this a really difficult list to narrow down. So before we get into my official top 5, let's give a shout out to 5 films that I couldn't fit in, but I had to show some love, starting with the documentary The Cove, which isn't really a favorite of mine because it's extremely difficult to watch. However, it was a huge hit from Sundance and prompted me to actually watch it the year it came out, and it turned out to be a really influential film about the dolphin hunting trade, and ultimately led to some policy change and public knowledge. Little Miss Sunshine is definitely the first film that pops into my head when you say the words Sundance hit, because everything about Little Miss Sunshine screams Sundance. It's a beautiful, quaint, little funny film that I think everybody enjoys watching, right? Beach Rats was a largely underseen LGBTQIA+ drama that deals with a young man stuck in hyper-toxic environments having to grapple with his sexuality and the kind of seedy situations he puts himself into. It's a really moving film that left my jaw just wide open after I had seen it. American Psycho is an irreverent, amazing classic that I had no idea ever showed at Sundance. Christian Bale gives probably my favorite performance of his entire career in this film. It is bloody, it is gory, it's a great takedown of this toxic masculinity mindset in the most entertaining, satirical, and gruesome ways possible. And finally, just barely missing out on my list is Memento, which actually didn't debut at Sundance, but wrapped up its awards campaign the following year at Sundance, which is quite the interesting strategy. However, it's one of my favorite Christopher Nolan films that I just barely watched actually within the past couple years, but instantly fell in love with. Guy Pearce is amazing. Christopher Nolan is at his mind-bending peak with this film, but it just misses out on my top 5. Kicking us off, at number 5, I have Beasts of the Southern Wild. Now, obviously, I had some amazing films in those honorable mentions that I adore, and figuring out what film to put at number 5 was extremely tough. However, as soon as the category was announced, my mind went to Beasts of the Southern Wild because it's one I know that was a Sundance darling that went on to become actually an Academy darling and nabbed some surprise nominations. So I knew it debuted at Sundance, and it's instantly what I think of when I think of my personal favorite Sundance film. However, some research changed that clearly, but it's because of that reason I knew that this one had to make the list somewhere. I find Beasts of the Southern Wild to be an extremely charming, really moving film about children and how they cope and deal with really stressful situations and how they are able to cope with poverty. For me, I think it handles all of this in a much more impactful and strong way than the Florida Project did. Personally, they tackle very similar type of situations, but Beasts of the Southern Wild takes it that extra mile, and it just all works way more, in my opinion. With some great performances, including one of the top child performances of the past 20 years, I'd say. Beasts of the Southern Wild is a beautiful gem of a film. Coming in at number 4, I have Get Out. So Get Out makes another appearance on one of my Movie Nerds Club lists, and for good reason. It is a fantastic film that takes on social hierarchies and race relations of the United States in a gruesomely fabulous fashion, mixing in some fun comic relief to offset the horror that is taking place on screen. Jordan Peele perfectly balances this gruesome analogy to pure perfection. Coming in at number 3, I have Whiplash, or should I say Whiplash. Now, Whiplash is a film I was hesitant towards upon first viewing, but as I watched it again and as I just sat and thought about it, this film has stuck with me ever since. Being a musician who actually went into college as a music major, so much of what this film puts on display rang very true with me. I've never had a teacher like this, but in many ways, I was my own teacher like this. And being that person who puts that pressure on yourself like Miles Teller did was very relatable to me personally. However, Miles Teller is amazing in his best performance to date. J.K. Simmons more than deserved that Oscar in one of the standout supporting performances of the past decade. Score is fantastic. This film is a small drama, but it is so visceral that it keeps you on the edge of your seat from start to finish, with an amazing final sequence that absolutely blew me away. So coming in at number 2, my runner-up spot is Minari. That's right, a film from 2020 Sundance finds its way all the way up to number 2 on my personal list, and that's because I absolutely adored this film. If you've watched my top 10 films of 2020, you would see I definitely love Minari. This film handles the immigrant experience better than any other film I've ever seen in a real and genuine way, where we don't have to go through all the hurts of the traveling and the splitting of family, the melodramas that have taken place so often, but instead how immigrants living the everyday American experience are striving towards that all-American dream that they've so much been promised. We have some stellar performances from top to bottom with this beautiful score, and once again, an ending that absolutely took my breath away. Minari is just starting to get a rollout here in the United States as we enter into the awards season. So please, if you haven't seen it yet, keep your eyes peeled and check out Minari as soon as it's available for you. And then finally, my number 1 pick, my favorite film to ever show at Sundance is, well, Call Me By Your Name. Yes, it's been controversial ever since it debuted, and honestly, I was a critic heading into the film, very nervous for the experience I was about to have. Immediately upon the film beginning, all of those worries melted away, and I was in a complete trance from the first shot to the very last moment of the credits. Call Me By Your Name is this beautiful, intimate story that takes you on this lush, forbidden love tale that strips away all of the melodrama, strips away all of the self-hatred, and just delivers this wonderfully erotic, though not exploitive, beautiful love story set amongst this amazing Italian backdrop. The music is so good, the emotions run beautifully high. Armie Hammer and Timothée Chalamet have this stunning chemistry together, and the messages that ring true throughout the film hit me like a ton of bricks. Not only is Call Me By Your Name my favorite film to ever show at Sundance, it was my favorite film of 2017, and it's one of my favorite films of all time. I adore this movie. That's it. Those are my top 5 favorite Sundance films of all time. What did you think of my list? Did you agree? Do you disagree? And more importantly, what are your top 5 favorite films from Sundance? Let me know either in the comment section down below, or you can hit me up on Twitter. And remember, please make sure to head on over and subscribe to Ren Geekness, Rachel's Reviews, Mainly Movies, Zach Pope, and Ryan Cam's channels. See what they picked for their top 5 Sundance films. And make sure you hit that like button before you leave, and subscribe to my channel so you are always up to date on my latest videos. I love you all so much for your continued support. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!